I will. Go ahead, Allison. I'm going to share the screen while she's talking. Yeah, we are, because I said I said 3, 2, 1, and then Carrie wanted to. No, it's okay. It's all right. Go ahead. Do the intro.
Wasteland. We're the survivors of the alt-right kek apocalypse. The few, the brave, the bitchy, once more wading into battle against the horsehide Mongol hordes with Rantzerker number 189. Red pill women are trashy and childish. You know, I want to be offended, but she has a point, I think. You know, trashy and childish, I'll take it. At least we're not... Well, I guess we're also cunty, too.
Okay, define red pill women.
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, what do you mean? Define your terms, madam. Define your terms.
Because, I don't consider Pearl Davis to be trashy and childish. I don't even consider Roma Army to be trashy and childish, right? I don't consider most Suzanne Venker, Helen Smith, Janice Fiamengo, right? Like, I don't consider any of them to be trashy or childish.
Maybe she's just directing it at us, like me and you.
I do have the sense of humor and musical taste of a 14-year-old boy, but I don't consider myself to be trashy or childish. I mean, my house does look like a trash heap, but it's not because I'm trashy.
I just don't really care. Like, honestly. This is trashy and childish. So, okay, but what if we're right?
That's
trashy and childish, but honest and correct. I mean, who gives a crap about trashy and childish? It's just...
Yeah, no, I just like...
playground insult slinging.
Well, I've got a salty tongue. I've always had a salty tongue, right? F word, C word, like, those were... Even when I was writing dirty books for women, I was like, yeah, no.
Language!
No. I'm sorry, but the P word is anachronistic. Nobody was calling it that back in the 1400s, right? They were calling it the C word. Actually, back then, it was the Q word, Queynte.
Yeah, this is just going to be wall-to-wall vulva jokes, friends.
Yeah, no, and I'm sorry, but you can just, like... you can get mad at me for...
lick my butt?
You can lick my sweaty butt crack if you don't like me to tell you that I'll see you next Tuesday.
I don't even know. What's going to happen next Tuesday?
See you.
Oh, it's a freaking visual pun. Okay, no. All right, let me do this
you're so lame. You're so old. And I'm older than you. And you didn't even know that? See you next Tuesday?
No, I didn't. I didn't get the reference until just now when you spelled it out. I'm afraid visual puns are not my forte.
I had 10 years ago, I was working
grammar puns
in a Tony Roma's, and I had this 55-year-old veteran waitress. She was just like, she was awesome. She was wonderful. She could handle anything. She was super energetic and had a sense of humor that really jived with mine. She also had short hair like me, And so whenever someone would say, oh, what's your name? Whenever a customer would say, what's your name? And I was like, it depends. If you like the service, my name's Karen. If you didn't like it, I'm the tall, short-haired blonde named Vanessa. And but she used to sometimes, when she had a really bad table, a really obnoxious table, she'd be like, "Oh, see you next time," and then she'd elbow me and wink. See you next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was laughing. I was just muted. That's all. Okay, so I just want to remind everyone. That if you want to send us a message at any time during the show, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. That's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. We get the full benefit of whatever funds you send our way, and you get the full benefit of evading YouTube's comment enhancement system, shall we say.
At least until next Tuesday.
At least until next Tuesday, which... Okay.
When we'll see you.
When we'll see... Okay. All right. So feedthebadger.com/justthetip to send in those comments, and we will read them on air and respond to them. And if you want to send us a comment after the show is over, we do still get them, and we can read them at the next relevant show. And I've also opened up my fundraiser for supporting the editing of my novel, The Captive Eye. Game of Thrones meets Alice in Wonderland. And if that sounds good, if that sounds like something you'd like to help bring into the world, please go to feedthebadger.com/support to help me out there. All right, let's get this started. Because I imagine this will go one of two ways. It'll either be infuriating or hilarious.
Oh, no, it could...
Or hilarious infuriating.
Or it could be insightful. You never know. I mean, sometimes...
Oh, yeah, maybe she's got her finger on the pulse of the psychology of the average woman like us.
Well, I just recall that there were lots of videos that I titled ironically, where I'd have people dropping by, look out, it's a nice guy, destroy him, or men not marrying, how deep does the problem go, or just basically titles that were counterintuitive, attention grabbing, right? And I used to get drop-in comments, like drive-by comments from people who just read the title, looked at the thumbnail of this woman with like no makeup and short hair, who looks like a lesbian separatist, and they'd just be like, "This sucks, and you're some stupid lesbo, blah blah blah," right? And then someone would say, "Did you actually watch the video? Like, you might want to watch the video before you comment."
Yeah.
So
and sometimes they actually do, and they're like, "Oh, sorry." But let me ask Brian.
Always apologies from people who got the wrong impression from the title and the thumbnail.
Is this ironic, Brian?
I wish it was.
Oh.
I wish it was. This is
okay. Maybe I shouldn't have disillusioned her so early in the process.
All right, I'm just gonna have a nap now.
This is from a YouTuber called The Authentic Observer. I think
The Authentic Observer.
That's her name.
Oh.
That's her channel.
No.
Authentic Observer.
Yeah. Like I said, maybe she has her finger on the pulse of women like me and you.
No. Nobody who names themselves The Authentic Observer, the truth teller galore.
Yeah.
No. Like, that is the ironic title, right? Is the title that they give themselves. She's not observant. She will not have observed anything relevant.
Authentic.
And she will not be authentic.
This is a prediction.
That's a prediction.
This is a prediction.
We'll
you can't say for sure because we haven't watched this yet.
Okay, yeah, but
we only have Brian's appraisal, and we need to confirm that his appraisal is accurate.
If you had told me before I made that suggestion that maybe it would be insightful if you had told me her username.
Yeah,
I would have
I'm
been like,
listening.
oh, fuck, this is just going to be fucking full of shit. Because nobody with any amount of intellectual humility would name themselves the authentic observer. They might describe themselves as authentic. They might describe themselves
What the
as
frick
an
does
observer.
authentic mean?
That just means you mean what you say, right?
And like this thing with
okay,
authenticity.
Yeah, and you might describe yourself as an observant, in context. I'm just an observer. I'm just somebody who's observing what's going on, and I'm just somebody who speaks what's really on my mind, right? And therefore, you would never name yourself. You would never give yourself that title if that's who you were.
Well,
because you'd be like, well, what kind of gigantic fucking ego do I have to basically say not that I am an authentic observer, but the authentic observer?
And not just that, like, it's not just egotistical. It's also sort of moralizing. Like, I am the one who is right in the conversation and you are wrong. Well, we shall find out. And also, is tasteless and what is it, trashy and what was the other word that she used?
Childish.
Childish. Are those genuine observations, or are they just insults? Because what matters,
projections.
What matters is integrity and honesty. Like, you can be as childish as you want, but if you're telling the truth and you have integrity, go forth with all of your fart jokes.
Yeah,
all right,
let's make them politically relevant.
All right, there's two sections of this that I think are probably the juiciest cuts of meat.
Let's
one
bite
is
right into
this
the
one,
bit,
which is called "Female Competition Disguised as Concern for Men." I think you guys would probably like that. And then at the end, there's a section called "The Red Pill Does Not Understand Femininity." Now,
okay,
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Well, I was just going to say, just based on that whole idea of female competition disguised as concern for men, does this person even allow
female
concern for men? Like, does she think that concern for men in any context is acceptable? I'm just putting that out there. I just would I'm going to watch this with that question in mind.
Okay.
Does this individual give any indication that she regards concern for men as acceptable in any context?
Oh no, this is just instead of saying red pill women are pick-me's.
Yeah, it's the same thing. She's just changing the term.
She's trying to it a little more academically.
Yeah, she's calling it female competition.
Hoity-toity. Yeah.
Instead of a pick-me. But
she's also saying that our concern for men is false, right?
Our concern for men is false.
Disingenuous.
Because we're crying out, pick me. Pick me, Chad. Pick me.
Oh, that's what the pick me thing is.
Oh, I've already...
Most of the so-called red pill women are already married.
I've already been picked.
Yeah, honestly,
I'm totally happy. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but you want to be picked again, right? We can't just be out there concerned about the legal realities that men face, including the men in our lives. We have to want to be picked multiple times. We're already picked and locked down, friend.
That's why I
Janice
wear so
already
much
picked
makeup.
and locked down. Yeah, Janice already picked and locked down. I don't think Pearl is, but I think Roma is. She's in a relationship.
Well, but
most of them are.
Okay, look at Pearl. Look at you. Right? Look at me. Look at Janice. Okay, Janice, I will grant you, she is a snappy dresser, right? But she's not a sexy dresser. And she does do her hair, but that's because she's got a lion's mane full of hair.
She's got this big hair. Like Charlie's Angels. Like Charlie's Angels hair, right?
Yeah. Farrah Fawcett hair. Yeah, no. And so
if she didn't do it, it'd probably turn into a sphere.
If she didn't use product, right, it would be out of control. Okay, that's why I buzz my head. Okay, because that's what my hair would be like, right?
Yeah.
Allison, when was the last time you brushed your hair? Do you even remember?
No, I brush my hair. Okay, look, I take care of my hair, but the problem was my hair has gotten a lot better because I figured out the issues that I had with it. Okay.
Anyway,
every morning.
But you've never really cared about your hair. When was the last time you wore makeup? Was it in New York at the Red Pill?
I don't think I was wearing much makeup there. I think maybe
you weren't wearing much. You never wear much.
Maybe some mascara. That's it.
Yeah.
No, I don't wear makeup very often. I don't wear much. Like,
yeah, I haven't worn makeup since the Red Pill premiere. I have not put any makeup on at all. Right? I buzz my head. I wear pants. I wear them because they fit and they're long enough, not because they make my ass look great. I wear tank tops because they're comfortable, right? And they don't constrict my shoulders, and they cost $14 each, right? I wear comfortable shoes, right? People mistake me for a lesbian for a reason. Okay? This is just, and I'm sorry. If you think that I am in this,
I can do one better. I've been mistaken for a man.
Oh, really? You've been mistaken for a man? In the liquor store the other day,
admittedly, I was wearing a trench coat and was from behind, okay? So I looked like a really short man.
I was wearing a plaid hoodie, okay, with the hood down. But that just means they're seeing my short hair. And I'm looking at the wine selection. And she says, "Excuse me, sir, can I help you?" And I turn around. She's like, "Oh, no, sorry." And I'm like,
okay, wow. Actually, no, you got
super common. Right?
Yeah.
People from behind, if
you're wearing they say a short haircut and broad shoulders and
comfortable shoes, and they assume man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was also like wearing a jacket that was fairly bulky too. So, and it sort of hung off my shoulders. So, I mean, you probably wouldn't mistake me for a man if I wasn't wearing like a trench coat.
Yeah, with your hair probably on the inside of it or whatever, right? But it's
I had a short hair for a long time.
Like, there you go.
Yeah,
and
there you go.
So it's like, yeah, no,
my first date, like I wore steel-toed army boots and a plaid jacket and jeans. And my now husband saw that and he was like, "Oh, she was dressed like a man. Intriguing." And that this is, I'm not sure what she's going with the female competition, because most of us have husbands.
Well,
significant other, yeah.
Significant others. Many of us don't bother with a lot of makeup. Like, I think Roma does, but I don't think Pearl does, aside from probably what's necessary for being...
I don't even think Roma bothers so much with makeup. It's tattoos and piercings with her.
Yeah, that's the okay. But let's get started, because we're guessing on what she said.
All I will say is that the first section is all about Pearl. So if you're wondering if Pearl's existence is the inspiration for this, at least in part, yes, although not limited to that. But I'm not going to go into that because it just seems like petty shit. It's actually called "I do not like just pearly things." So that's kind of how she gets into this. But I think she's using Pearl as an example.
Does she actually make any salient points about what Pearl says that she disagrees with?
No.
Just say, I trust you. We don't have to watch it.
We'll see.
Yeah, well,
we're skipping that section.
She's using this to get into what she really wants to talk about. So,
all right, I need clarity before we continue. The section we're going into, she talks about Pearl, or the section we're skipping?
I think it's there is some of that in this as well. She's using
Oh, yeah,
Pearl
all right.
as the impetus, but I think the first part is just her insulting her. I think she does bring up the fact that, well, at least like what she believes is that Pearl is single, and this is like the reason she's doing any of this stuff, apparently. But yeah,
I don't think so. I think that Pearl is like a Brienne of Tarth, and she just understands how things work.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm inclined to. But anyway, you guys in the show chat? I'm gonna play it.
Yep.
Okay, let's do it.
So there is another issue I have with some of the red pill ladies, and I think so many men don't see this because, no offense, but a lot of men are just really bad at spotting women who are acting from self-interest if those women are just saying things that they want to hear.
Okay,
Boys,
pause.
Women.
Bright
Yeah.
red lipstick, rouge, eyeliner, mascara, pruned eyebrows,
Giant earrings.
giant earrings, right? Very elfin face. She would be beautiful with makeup or without. And she's like, but she still feels like she has to try, right? She would be beautiful without any of that makeup. I guarantee you she's got a base of foundation there too, right? She'd be gorgeous without any of the makeup, but she still puts on the full face. And Pearl, the freckly ginger, is the one who's just doing it to get male attention.
Well, you don't understand. She's putting this makeup on for herself, you see.
Oh, yes. And Pearl, like, Pearl could be quite stunning.
Pearl is not wearing makeup for men.
Yeah, no, she's not wearing makeup for men. Instead of makeup, she's putting on a false persona, is what she's doing. Right?
Yeah.
But everything about this is a false persona. This is all false advertising.
Yeah. And like you're saying, she's probably attractive without it. At least in the video.
Yeah, no, she's got beautiful symmetrical features. She's got a chiseled jaw. She's got nice cheekbones, even without the enhancement. She's got nice wide set eyes. She's a very attractive woman, except for that weird thing in the center of her hairline.
Yeah, that's weird. It is weird. I didn't even notice that. That almost looks like a.
This is gonna be a really petty stream, isn't it? This is gonna be. She's asking for it. She's asking for it.
Well, this is the battleground. This is the territory that she wants to fight over.
These are the weapons
right?
you have chosen. Yeah.
Yeah. She chose these terms.
So saying to men or having sympathy for men, because she's not really qualifying what kind of concern is incorrect and phony. So
Well,
all I can assume
might.
from this so far is that it's just any concern. But let's continue, Brian. Let's
All
go.
right. I got a super chat from Anemic Royalty. Thank you, Anemic. He gives us $4.99 and he says 1/2 FTR. This girl is a Tradcon. I don't know what FTR stands for. Like an internet thing?
For the record.
For the record, okay. I'm not a big fan of her, but I believe she actually gives some of the substantive critique of these types people miss. And then out of 2 out of 2, which he did not send a super chat with, but I will read it. Do you a favor. She called out Pearl for not taking a man's sexual assault claim seriously. I don't remember when it is. All right, thank you for the super chat. I think this is a feminist though, but we'll keep playing. I mean, not that there's a big difference between the two, but
women have been doing this forever. Let's be a little more discerning, please. Yeah, so there's this really bratty and superior attitude amongst some of the red pill women that I find obnoxious.
Women have been expressing concern for men forever?
Well,
are you fucking kidding me?
I don't know.
Well,
go aheid. She reminds me, you know who she reminds me of? Bizarro World Elizabeth Hobson.
Yes.
You know? Is this Bizarro Elizabeth Hobson? Okay, but go ahead.
Elizabeth Hobson is also very gorgeous in this exact same style.
Yeah.
But she's at least kind of thoughtful. So
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So let's continue. Like, I'm not exactly sure why saying that she has traditional values makes anything she's going to say
Better? I don't think they're saying
better.
that. I don't think that anyone's
Okay,
saying
all right.
that, but
I mean,
okay.
if she did call out Pearl on not recognizing
Yeah,
the
but-
sexual abuse of a man, that's good. You know, props to her.
If that's true, unless that's just a tool to give her, like, you know, leverage against Pearl, and she really wouldn't care otherwise. In which case, it doesn't really matter.
Unless
right?
that is itself toxic competition showing that concern.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
Let's
maybe.
keep going.
Okay.
Funny because those are the things that constantly accusing other women of being. So some of the first videos that I ever saw of Pearl were these shorts she did with her friend, who I believe.
Okay,
is
just a
another
second.
red
I want to
woman.
say one last thing. Okay.
Hmm.
If women commonly express concern for men, this idea of blaming men for the world's problems without, I mean, if men are 100% responsible for society, or even majority responsible for society, then they're also responsible for the boons of society. But no, we isolate the problems and put them on men, and we just don't talk about the boons. If women had this kind of universal concern for men, would that have ever gotten traction? If this was a common behavior in women, expressing concern for men, the instant this whole "oh, men are to blame" came out, women would be like, "But what? That would have a bad effect on men. Stop it!" And that would be the end of it. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, I'm chewing double bubble again.
Okay, that's fine.
But
Chew away.
it's Halloween. I can't feed it to the dogs. And I can't let it go to waste, and it won't last until next year.
Well, you could, and then they could blow bubbles from out one end.
The wrong end.
Yeah.
But the idea that I do believe there are grifters in this movement, but like women who are tag-alongs, and you know, they're just kind of basically it's the new fashion, right? It's kind of like being punk, right? And their heart's not really in it. But okay, I gotta spit this gum out.
All right, well, I want to watch a little bit more, and you compose your thought.
All right, I got a super chow. I should put it up
Just
on the
do
screen.
it. Just do it. Do it.
Do what? Do what? I got a super
Press
chow.
the button.
No,
Okay,
I got a
all right,
super,
we'll read the
chow.
super chow.
Okay, so from an anonymous person, we got to give them priority so that they send more through. Gives us $10, thank you, and says, does she allow concern for men? Yes, I've watched all of her long form videos on the likes of Tate and Waller, and the answer is unequivocally yes. She said that Tate has positive things to say to men. Also, does she make salient points in response to Pearl? I did appreciate the segments on Tate's application of the Loverboy method and Pearl's dismissal of the concept. If I thought it was a bit uncharitable, I'm assuming malice over incompetence, among other bits. Thank you for the super chow. I don't really know who this person is, so you might be right. I don't know. But I think that what I have noticed, though, is that there are women in this circle or this part of the internet that appear to be supportive, sympathetic, or adjacent to men's issues, and they were probably really involved at some point, but they have since backed away and, you know, hurled criticism or whatever. And it's your business. Support whatever you want or don't support whatever you want. But I think that sometimes it's a bit annoying because it's like they come here and they want to say the nice things and be, oh, I care about you guys, and I understand your struggles, blah blah blah, and then they like get really into it and they realize how much pain and anger and rage there is, and after a while they go, you know what, these people are misogynistic, or this is a bad movement, or
uncomfortable. Yeah,
it makes them uncomfortable, and then they just sort of like throw shade, and
they rationalize their discomfort.
Yeah, like, I'll give you an example. Sydney Watson. So Sydney Watson, she hosted or had like a men's march in Australia years ago. I thought it was great. I had her on the show. We talked.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, and I still think that she's, you know,
she's been on a bunch of Jubilee stuff.
Yeah, she's been on Jubilee stuff, etc. But she I saw her recently on Trigonometry, and when she was on there, she was basically saying that she's moved away from the red pill stuff because, you know, and she mentions like, oh, it's like Andrew Tate now, and like or this or that, you know, like misogynistic dude, and oh, you know, it used to be something, but now it's this other thing, and it's like, Sydney, you were on our show. We've been here for a long time. You know that we exist, and you're basically just like, oh man, there's just like it's just the flip side of feminism. It's just the other side. It's the same shit. I heard it from, and I think I still would, you know, be charitable to Sydney and say, I know that you're well-meaning, but you are letting your emotions about certain aspects affect your view of the whole, and you're not actually like telling these guys like, oh, look, you know, because the trigonometry guys, they're always looking for some excuse to be like, we are in the perfect position of moderate, and if you're not right here, then you're obviously too low IQ to understand how great this specific spot on the fence is. And it irritates me to no end, because this is not an issue of right. Well, this is not an issue of like, how do you feel about, you know, like this particular, I don't know, like these guys in the manosphere, and do you want to be associated with them or not? I don't give a shit. Like, I'm doing what we're doing. Like, what matters to me are the principles, the concepts, and the ideas. And I think that, and I don't know why it is, but it's mostly with women that are in this, they get to a point where they become uncomfortable and they want to back away and they want to backtrack and say, look, I don't support any of that shit. And the thing that really bothers me is that they don't seem to get is the only reason why you now have Andrew Tate as the face of the manosphere is because you have ignored so many more moderate people that came before and tried to talk about this stuff because their audience wasn't big enough. And now he's got like millions of views, and everybody's upset. And it's like, yeah, but there are people who have been here for a long time. And I'm not just talking about myself. Just so you know, I'm not just talking about this channel. I'm saying that there are people that have been involved in this conversation for years and years, and we are still like, you know, like you're not even gonna get, I don't know, Mike Buchanan, Janice Fiamengo, fucking Paul. Like, no, you won't do that. And also, some of those people are too far. I saw what happened with Shoe on Head getting into it with Paul Elam online. And, you know, on Twitter or whatever, because again, Shu is like, well, look, I'm all down with you guys, but if you like cross this line, if you're too angry, you know, if you like, I don't know, insult women that are thoughts or whatever, then I'm going to block you. I'm going to call you the same. You're the mirror image of this other institution that runs everything. You're the same as them because you have a few angry guys on the internet. And it's like, no. So, okay. So what I'm saying is, and I'm sorry for like monopolizing the time, but what I'm getting at is this woman might be fine, but her premise I don't like, because it is in its nature, it appears to be exclusionary. Like, Pearl is not real, and she's not like really somebody that we should be. It's like what Roma does, where Roma constantly attacks Pearl, and then Roma says, this is my men's rights community. She basically takes ownership of it. I don't think
really.
Well, yeah, that's what she does. Yeah, she says this men's right community, so it's like, you know, you have to do this my way, and everyone else should be excluded. And I'm of the opinion that I don't care what perspective or what angle people have, if they're out there talking about this stuff, then that's good enough for me. And I give props to Pearl, because she did the thing that Sydney wouldn't do, that Lauren Southern wouldn't do, that Shoe on Head wouldn't do, until like she got some pressure to do something, and then she threw us a bone. Thank you, Shoe. And who else am I thinking of? Those are like the main ones, right? Because they don't want this to harm their reputation or their image or whatever, so they back away.
Yeah.
But Pearl doesn't care, so she gets Paul on, she gets Janice on, she gets you on, she gets Mike Buchanan on, and I'm like, props to her. That mean like that, like, you know, if you want to be successful, one of the best things is to be a good middleman, and that's what Pearl is doing. Then I will support that. Period. That's what I'm saying. So
well, I mean, it depends. I think it depends on what you mean by success. Right?
Yeah.
Success in terms of the movement or success in terms of the revenue you pull.
Well,
right?
I guess for me, it's more about the reach, but like, yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, no, and it's like, so I've always looked at it like, or success in terms of understanding what's going on. And I've always kind of looked at that as the primary success that I wanted. I want to understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to say it, say what I think is going on. And that's not just in terms of, you know, feminism and men's rights. It's also in terms of race relations and even the vaccines.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, no, if Brian, if you want to do a show on those, I can give you a show on those, and it'll be something. But
Okay.
Okay, my issue is, so like, I interviewed Rushvi, I interviewed Chris Cantwell, I interviewed James Damore, I've interviewed Sasha Daygame, right? And every single, and then I freaking nuked somebody from Orbit whose name shall not be mentioned but starts with M. Every single time I had loyal people in, you know, who loyal followers or subscribers to my channel, right, say, "Oh, I can't believe you did this." I'm like, so fucking don't watch it. Don't watch it then. If you don't want to watch it, then it's not for you. I'm not making this content for you.
Yep.
Right? I'm making this content for me. And I'm not making this content to make money or get clicks. I'm making this content to put the truth out there, or put what I believe is the truth out there, right? Or other people's perspectives, or, you know, different points of view on controversial topics. That's what I'm doing it for. And so I don't care. Like, I don't want to get canceled. That's why I demonetized my channel. I demonetized the whole channel, set all of it to over 18.
Yeah.
Right? The moment my older videos started to be demonetized, and the moment that they said, "Oh, you have to guess correctly whether your content is suitable for under 18s," and I was just like, fuck it. Right? I don't need the money, and I don't want all of my videos to go down because I guessed wrong. Right?
Yeah.
Or I monetized the wrong video. And because that's my work. That's 10 years worth of work there. I don't want it to disappear just because I guessed wrong. And YouTube, or some idiot at YouTube, some blue-haired booby at YouTube decided, I don't like her, so 3 strikes, she's out. Delete channel.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, but you, like, there are people who are really, really, really raking in a ton of money, right, on these issues, and they have to look at their channel like a business. They have to.
Mm-hmm.
And so Roma Army, if she's depending on that income, she has to consider it her men's rights community. She has to.
Yeah.
It's not, but it's her paycheck.
Well, I get it. Okay, I got a super chow. I got 2, but only one of them came up on my interactive chat thing. So I'll have to read the other one out without displaying it. from Anonymous, the same guy who sent us that last one. He says, for $5, I appreciate and agree with almost everything you're saying, but having watched this particular woman while being a big fan of HBR, I do believe she's well earned the benefit of the doubt. I didn't mean to mark as anonymous. It's okay. I mean, like I said, I'm open to hearing her out. Maybe she will have something constructive to say. Let's see.
Would be lovely to hear her out.
Yeah, let's listen to more. Let's listen to more.
All right.
When I tell you the pure amount of cringe from these videos made my organs die inside my body. When I tell you to prepare yourselves, I don't want you to think that I'm joking. Maybe get into the brace position because this is bad. So they made a few of these shorts together, and okay, I'll play them and tell me if they don't fit this scenario. So this series of videos they made when they were hanging out together, this reminds me. So you know when you were at school, okay, you were at school, and then a group of girls would get in a fight, and then two of the girls involved, this sounds really specific, but tell me if I'm wrong, two of the girls involved would have a sleepover, and then they'd go on Facebook and post like passive-aggressive pictures showing how much of a good time they were having, or post status updates that were like snide digs at the girls they were in a fight with, and get all like uppity and bratty and post it all online, and it was utterly embarrassing, but also kind of forgivable because they're 12. Yeah, so imagine two adult women being childish enough to do that, and also their fight is with all of the women on the internet.
All right, and so there's a meme. Oh, this is what's her name? The woman on the left. Her name is Femme Sapien. She's a Puerto Rican girl from Chicago.
Oh.
I don't know why I never met her.
Cool.
Anyway, and yeah, she is anti-feminist as well. So I know that much.
The caption is, "We don't care," in capitals, which I personally find very convincing. Katie and Lucy got in a fight with Chelsea, Tara,
Zing. That's good. Yeah.
What?
Well, personally, I find it really, I don't find it helpful, all of this battling groups of women are doing over how they structure their lives. Like whether or not they submit to a man, whether or not they stay at home, whether or not they work, whether or not they have children, whether or not they have a frickin' dog. You know, it seems like this is a behavior that women engage in, and they do a lot of it. They take some of the most ridiculous ways of judging each other, like whether or not they've eaten sugar during pregnancy, and they put other women on blast for it, and they completely ignore things like, are you beating your husband? You know, do you recognize the fact that your son could possibly be sexually abused in some context? Do you tell him, oh, you have to take responsibility for rape because you're a man? Like, do you care about the things that you say to your sons? Do you care about the things that men in your family have to endure when they walk out the door? Do you care about any of that? Do you care for your male relatives? And a real, genuine care, like something that extends out to understand their point of view and the pressures in their lives. Like, are you going to walk away if your husband loses his job? Right? All of these things. These are the things. These are ethical and moral considerations. And instead, they play stupid games about, did you eat, I don't know, caffeine during pregnancy? And other stuff like that. It's like, is that really that important? Versus, are you having a kid who's going to know their father? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, yeah, but I think that the idea of the traditional wife, right? Submitting to a man, okay.
Yeah, but that's my point. It's like, yes, if that's what you want, go for it, right?
Yeah, but there are things that it's not like I wish this whole submitting to a man thing would just go away, because that's never been the case. Women have never really, truly submitted.
And really, that's
to men.
what it is. Trusting your male partner.
There you go. And
You're trusting him. You're trusting him to drive. You're trusting him to make decisions. You're trusting him to have understanding within his sphere of expertise, right?
Yeah.
And you're trusting him. That's what it is. It means trust. That's what it means. And yeah, I can see what she's saying. They've sort of turned this idea of submission into a way of, well, maybe not, because what they're saying is, but this is the way I want to structure my life, you know, and if it pisses you off, I don't care. That seems to be what they're saying. And they're also like in their 20s, right? So yeah, they're going to be a little bit selfish or like shallow and catty. But what my overall point is, I don't think that it's relevant. Like if a woman wants to have a career like Ben Shapiro's wife, or if she wants to stay at home like somebody else's wife, which I can't name at the moment, but I'm sure exists. You know,
Me?
what matters is that you care about the men in your life. You try to make their life easier. You trust them. You know, you listen to them. You make sure that their concerns are part of the equation, regardless of how that falls out in a shallow way. And I think the reason why women compete over stay at home versus career is it really is a competition, almost over like a who is the correct way of arranging your life. It's like there is no correct way once you're within the rubric of ethics and compassion. Like, you get what I'm saying? As long as you're dealing with people around you with concern and compassion, and you're trying to support them and be a good person, then it doesn't matter. This just shallow stuff. And I think that competition is really about resource guarding for women in a way. Because, you know, a lot of the advancement for career women comes from this belief that women are discriminated against in the career sphere. So if it's recognized that women actually have this other option and it's legitimate, a lot of that, the accuracy to the veracity, that's the word I was going for, veracity to the claims of oppression of women in the workforce disappear. So they lose the resources that those claims give them access to, like preferential hiring, scholarship, bursaries, you know, like all of this other stuff in the workplace. They lose access to that. And so stay-at-homes threaten that narrative. And then women who with a career threaten stay-at-homes because they because it sort of shows that when you're staying at home and you're not a homesteader, you actually really have a much easier life in some ways.
Very light work day.
Very light work day. So it goes to the heart of that threatens the narrative of the self-sacrificing stay-at-home, right? And it threatens the narrative of the oppressed career woman. So each of these two groups of women threaten each other's narratives. So they're constantly at odds. And it's like, no, you don't have to be. If you're a woman who prefers to go out and support her family, there's a biblical model for that. If you're a woman who prefers to stay at home and support her family, there's a biblical model for that. I'm not just saying that you only have to use biblical models, but whatever. But I'm just saying that the point is to care about the people in your life. It's not to expect everyone to adhere to your particular narrative that allows you to grab resources if you're a career woman, or grab resources if you're a stay-at-home. It's about caring for the people around you and the men, and trusting them and caring for them, and recognizing that masculinity has its own virtues and that you should listen to it because, you know, it's a point of view that you don't have and can inform your own in a positive way. So you see what I'm saying? You don't need this entire competition is ridiculous and wrong-headed, in my opinion. That's my conclusion of that.
Well,
I'll shut up.
I will say that I think it was Warren Farrell who mentioned that, you know, the most virulent anti-feminists when he was involved with the National Organization for Women were women married to successful men, stay-at-home women stay-at-home wives married to successful men, because they viewed women in the workplace as direct competition against their husbands, and their husbands
and potential sources of threat to their relationship.
Yeah, their husband's success in the workplace was threatened by the influx of all of these highly educated career women, blah, blah, blah.
And not just highly educated, with an empowering narrative that allowed them to seize resources that they didn't get through merit.
Yeah. And I'm like, they weren't wrong, right? And it's like, well, I stay at home, and yes, I do things, right? I like, not me in particular. I'm talking the general me as, a stay-at-home person of a successful man. I stay home. I do things. I help organize his life. I, set up social gatherings. I, do his correspondence. I fill out his Christmas cards that, grease the social wheels of his network of bosses and underlings and coworkers and clients and potential clients and all of that, right? And I manage all of that, and I manage the money, and I manage the household, and I arrange for dinner parties and things like that, and where we entertain his boss and the new partner at the law firm or whatever, right? And I do all those things, right? And that, even if you have a housekeeper / cook on staff, right? Even just doing that, managing that kind of man's career, right? Being the wife of someone who's highly successful can be a very taxing and busy job. And they were extremely threatened by the idea of quotas on boards of directors, quotas in the C-suite, quotas in the executive offices.
No shit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And
that's like if
and it's
we
not
had,
like they were doing nothing just because they weren't scrubbing floors.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying they were necessarily doing nothing. But it honestly, it is still about a resource being threatened, essentially.
Yeah. Oh,
on
yeah.
both camps. Camps.
Yeah, this is the whole thing. Men compete over the veg, and women compete over the money.
Yep, they compete over access to resources.
Yeah, that's how intersexual competition works. Men compete for sex, women compete for resources. That's how it works with all mammals, social mammals.
But I got some super chats and super chows, and then I want to.
We're never gonna get.
No,
okay,
probably not. But I mean, like, how long have you been here? All right, so I got a super chow from Richard. It didn't come up on the screen for some reason, just this one, but I'm gonna read it for $5. And he says, an issue with Roma is that she will cherry pick about who she deems worthy of her advocacy. Still can't get her take on Kyle Rittenhouse out of my head. There is a purity spiral going on, just like with a particular demographic, right, where there is only one correct way to be a part of the cause. If you don't vote for me, then you aren't blank. Just like there is only one correct way to be particular demographic, and anything else is an inauthentic impersonation of that particular demographic, whether it's, women, trans people, whatever. Yeah, of course. That's how intersectionality really works.
What was her take on Kyle Rittenhouse?
Oh, Roma thought that he was a terrible, terrible white supremacist racist that crossed state lines to kill black people, even though he ended up having to defend himself against 3 white dudes. Or 3 not black people. I don't know if they were white, but
I think one of them might have been like partly Hispanic.
Yeah, and another one was like, he had a Jewish name, so who knows? But doesn't matter. Point is, she had the usual mainstream media take, and
God.
People called her out on it, and I don't know how it went. Yeah, I guess she did at first, but I don't know. She's, she lives in BC, and I think people who live in like these really nice parts of Canada, they just don't know how the world works, so I don't know.
Yeah, if you're gonna live in BC and you actually want to know how the world works, you have to live in rural BC, but only certain types of rural, because there are hippie enclaves in
Yeah, sure.
rural areas
It's just like
Salt
Washington
Spring
State
Island
and
and stuff
Oregon.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have to, like, Alberta has, it mostly has its head on its shoulders. But my mom's riding, her federal district, electoral district, is bunch of commies, right? But that's where the university is, right? So
Yeah.
um,
Okay.
but
I got another.
I think
Yeah.
Saskatchewan has its head on its shoulders even better than Alberta now.
well, yes. Although
Okay.
we did elect Danielle Smith.
Yeah. Props to you guys.
Yeah, and as premier, and not only is she a smart lady and a very independent-minded lady, but she was very sweet when we met her in Calgary. So
I've actually met the premier of Saskatchewan too. He went to our small town after the debacle, shall we call it? Not specifically the debacle of the Saskatchewan government, just the Canadian government entirely.
Oh,
And yeah, the sound system wasn't working, so he was actually trying to help get it working, which was interesting to watch.
well, you know, like conservatives tend to be like handymen.
Yeah,
handy
yeah.
women.
Well, I gave props to him to go out into his constituency because he got a lot of shit. I said when he was talking after he'd finished, I thanked him for coming, and I said, well, you've been getting a lot of pushback, but at least you didn't call a state of emergency, call the War Measures Acts on us.
Yeah.
Oh God, we live in a hellhole. Okay, let's keep going.
Okay, wait. You gotta let me read the people give us money. I should read their chats. So
Okay. People are giving us money. People are giving money
super
for this,
chows and super chats.
to listen to this crap.
Well, apparently yes, but Ass
All
Run
right.
gives us $5 and says it would be wonderful if these women could climb the social ladder and create a matriarchal following without putting men in the crossfire. All right, and
Do you mean
then
us?
I don't think you. I don't think he's talking about you. No.
No, I think he is. Well, Ashton, please clarify. Do you mean me and Karen, or do you mean somebody else?
I think he's talking about the
Probably
women that you
the
guys were
subject.
talking to. The subject, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Probably. I mean, I can't speak for him, but and I got a super chat. I'm sorry, from good thing I clicked on this. Feng Yuan, who gives us 400 Indian rupees, which is about almost $5 in U.S. money, and says
his name is Yuan.
Feng Yuan.
But he pays in rupees.
Yes, Indian rupees from India. And he says, Love from India. We love you, genuine MRAs. Could you please interview Mr. Anil Murthy from SIFF, India? We would love to hear it. Yeah, I've responded to the email. I said I would have him on. Not a problem.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
But did you respond to Justin Trottier about having him on too?
I have not responded to Justin Trottier yet, but I will after the show is over.
Okay.
So yes, but like I said, I am more than open to talking with Anil, because yeah, I mean, I totally do it. So anyway, all right, let's play some more of the video. I don't think there's anything else. And by the way, D Live is being sold today. Do you guys know that? So it might not be worth it for us to be on D Live. I think D Live is being sold. Yeah, or I've got it mixed up with the other one. But I think it's D Live. Okay, anyway.
Sophie, because they weren't invited to Sophie's party, and they really want those girls to know they don't care. They're having their own sleepover, and it's way more fun. And also, James doesn't even fancy Tara properly anyway, because he was snogging Amy behind the bike shed. So who's the loser now? Loser. Take a picture.
Okay. It's belaboring the point here.
Talk to the hand because the face ain't listening. Okay, no, we need a plan.
Oh,
We need a
good
plan before
lord.
we go.
Do you guys realize how much shit is happening? Is rolling downhill towards our civilization? Could we just knock this off entirely? Like, shut
Like,
up, the adult talking.
I will agree that this complaint does hold some merit. Okay, but there are times when there is among both men and women where there is within ranks conflict that needs to be dealt with, and the way men tend to deal with it, at least in the old workplace before women infiltrated it and like colonized HR and set all the rules, because they've done studies and they found that relational aggression is what she's describing here, right, is how women aggress against other women. And they have found that males don't come by it naturally, but by the time they are in the working world, because the entire structure of society up until they're adults is a matriarchy, effectively. You know, daycare, K to 12, right? College, all of that is now a matriarchy with female values and female ways of being within those environments, right? They have learned to mimic that. And they do pretty much just as well with the passive aggression as opposed to the aggressive aggression, right? And I've always just gone for the aggressive aggression.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer that because then nobody actually is.
You don't say.
Nobody has to read between the Nobody has to read between my lines, Allison. They don't.
Yeah.
Right? And reading between the lines is a dangerous fucking game because sometimes somebody's being an asshole, or sometimes somebody's being passive aggressive to be an asshole because they're trying to be passive aggressive and fuck with you. But sometimes it's just because they're autistic.
Yep.
Right? Or they're not paying attention. And then you retaliate with reputational destruction and annihilation. And then boom, someone's out of a job. James Damore, gone. Gone from Google.
Mm-hmm.
Because he tried to be honest when asked to give feedback.
Yeah. Honest in a world where nobody wants you to actually tell the truth, but act like you do.
Oh no, I mean it's fine. Call her out for relational aggression. That's fine.
Well, she's
and also
doing it right now. Well, she's actually kind of she's escalating. So
yes.
we now at least know there's a real genuine conflict. She has read between their lines, right? And said, okay, they're targeting people like me, right? This message was broadcast, but it was specifically meant so that I would hear it. Okay?
Yeah.
That's what she's inferred. And so now she's giving a direct message back at them. So I will give her credit for that. But it's still, like, does she really know who these ladies were? I guess maybe if there was some catfight going on behind the scenes, right, in this group of women who claim that they're for men. I don't know. Like, I don't keep track of these bitches.
I think not.
No, I can't say I do either.
I will speculate as to what the conflict is. So I'm gonna take what that one supporter that said that this person is like genuinely like well-intentioned when it comes to men. I will take that to heart and then say then what she probably seems to take issue with are the tactics or the outcomes, like the optics of Pearl's content. So I think that Pearl goes on TikTok and she does these short videos. And so first of all, let's try to understand. Okay, so she's on TikTok now. To me, that's a mistake. But in general, I wouldn't go on TikTok for anything because it's basically Chinese spyware. But if you're on there, and this is how Roma grew her following, and probably a lot of other folks that had their own little things they wanted to, like, you know, people they wanted to reach. I think that because the nature of the format is very short videos, some music, some words, whatever, or maybe you can like go on a little rant or whatever it is. I think that she and FemSapien were like, let's just make some videos making fun of, you know, feminists or just women, 304s, whatever it is. And I don't think that's a big deal personally, because like the shit that we do and say about men is way worse, but it's not even really about that. I think that what she's doing is saying, look, if I put the message out this way, kind of like Paul's bang a violent bitch month or whatever it was. If I put it out this way, then it's going to get more attention, and yeah, I'll get outrage. I'll get people that are triggered by it or whatever, but then they're going to come here and they're going to talk to me, and then they'll see more of my content. And so it's like, I think she sees it as a way to reach people. And sometimes you have to reach them, or at least that's what she believes, is you have to reach them by infuriating them. It's how she got the Daily Wire to make a bunch of videos responding to her, you know, because she said something about marriage not being a good deal for men. And of course, the Daily Wire guys, being that they're all like, you know, very pro-marriage, family, tradition stuff, they had to respond. Yeah. And so by responding, they lose, because now people that watch them are going to go look at Pearl's content and they're going to see what she's really got to say. So it's effective. Yeah. Now, and people have gotten, you know, I've gotten shit from guys in the men's rights space because I'm trying to remember what it was about. I think it was, it might have been something to do with Pearl, but I can't remember. But I remember saying that, oh no, I can't remember exactly. I think it might have been, it was maybe about Russell Brand or something. And I defended him. It might have been him. It might have been one of the other men that had been like falsely accused or whatever. And this guy who was an MRA and he was following me on Facebook, he yelled at me because he thought it didn't matter that what I believed about the case, but what mattered was how bad it would make us look if I supported that person.
Oh,
and so,
no.
So this is a thing that we always have to deal with. People, this is what I'm saying when I talked about how Lauren Southern and Sydney Watson and others have sort of backed away. It's because they're concerned about the optics and how it will reflect on them. And I'm like, okay, that's fine if you can't handle it, but just like give us some room to just do this ourselves. Like people who don't care about the optics, because the truth is that if you're concerned with the optics, you do need somebody
who doesn't care.
Yeah, you need somebody to tank for you. You definitely do. But also, like, it's not going to matter. Like, there's another thing I try to tell people. Like, you keep trying to, like, get these people to like you that hate you. And you think that if you do it the right way, if you use the right tone, if you make the right kinds of arguments, you're going to get more support from these people. No, you're not. They're going to hate you anyway, just by virtue of what you support. It doesn't matter how you present it. Like, I support helping men with their issues with essentially that are brought upon them by the state through women and through bitter women and the stuff that feminists have done to the system. There is the only thing that can be done is that has to be criticized and dismantled, and there has to be like stuff, you know, to take the weight off of men. Like, we have to stop doing that, and we have to treat them like human beings, and that's it, right? It seems really simple. But the thing is that no matter how I present that, it will be treated like a zero-sum game. Like I'm trying to take something away. It doesn't matter how well I put it. It doesn't matter. Like, nobody is kinder than Warren Farrell, okay, on these issues. He's been talking about this shit since the 70s. And they accuse him of being like, you know, a incest-supporting pedophile. Because they don't care. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if
Yep.
like if you guys get it. It doesn't matter. Like it doesn't even get any more contentious than trying to
No.
like get these issues addressed. Like there's nothing more contentious.
Yeah, no, and so you need people who are like actually cocking their hips and basically sticking their chests out and being the Paul Elams, being because those are the ones who actually. I said this very, very early on when I was in this movement, right? That well, why did people accept Martin Luther King's proposition? Because there was a Malcolm X waiting in the wings, and the people were willing to say, you know what, we might not love Martin Luther King yet, but I know we're going to like him more than we like Malcolm X.
Yeah. Exactly. You have an Andrew Tate now because you ignored Warren Farrell in the 70s.
Well,
and you've ignored everyone in between.
This is what's infuriating to me about, like, oh, stop defending Andrew Tate. Don't defend Andrew Tate. You're defending Andrew Tate. No. Okay. Yes, I am. I'm defending his right to exist. Okay. To be a human being living on the planet. Okay. I defend that. I defend his right to act within the legal bounds of what is permissible. Right? Even if he's a dick. Even if he's an asshole. Okay? If the law permits him to be that, right, then he's perfectly entitled to do those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And 3, if an army of young, disaffected men are listening to him, you can make one of 2 choices. You can put Andrew Tate in prison and make a martyr of him, or you can listen. Because you know what? Not everything he says is wrong. Not everything he says is evil. Not everything he says is untrue.
Yeah. Well, again,
you have to realize
if you get rid of him, the next guy is going to be like more extreme. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, no, you need to stop, you need to listen, you need to ask yourself, why are these young men fixated on Andrew Tate? Why? Right? Because I don't like Andrew Tate, right? I don't, like, personally, like, I don't even find him physically attractive, okay? And if I liked men who drive Bugattis, I would not have married a man who drove a 20-year-old minivan. Okay? Like, I'm sorry. Like, it doesn't appeal to me. That whole thing, that whole rush lifestyle, the mansion, sports car, all of that, right? It's never appealed to me. I've always been like a homesteader at heart. And so it's just cozy. I just want things that are cozy. And so he doesn't appeal to me at all. Not sexually, not in any kind of romantic sense, not in any kind of ethical sense, right? But there is something that he is doing for young men that the society is not doing for them. And you know what? If what he's doing for them is making them feel good about themselves, that's not Andrew Tate's fault.
No, exactly.
That is about everybody else's failure to be able to do that.
Yep.
Or willing
I want to point something out. I want to point something out to the whole Andrew Tate thing. Andrew Tate is proposing some kind of positive identity in the context of our society. Now, people don't think it's positive, but when the next thing comes, it will definitely seem a lot more positive in retrospect. He is focusing on this idea that young men can elicit sexual desire in women so that they can have that kind of a positive sense of themselves through interactions with women and interactions with society, getting getting wealthy, whatever. That's still a relationship with our society. Like Andrew Tate is still proposing a relationship with society and with women that it involves actual consent. Like I know that they say, oh, he used the lover boy method, he got them in his thrall or whatever else, but putting aside anything criminal that he ends up being charged with, what he's proposing for young men is to have at least something of a pro-social relationship with their greater society and with women. All right. If you can't see that, if you honestly look at that and say that is not the case, then I invite you to realize that eventually there will be a figure that appeals to young men who says there's no reason to have any kind of relationship with Western women. There's no reason to have any kind of relationship with Western society. And I've actually, like, I've been going back and forth on where that's going to come from. And at the risk of, I don't know, getting a strike, I think it actually may end up being Islam.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It may be that Islam starts to appropriate all of these disaffected young men, Western men who have nothing else.
Yeah, no.
And they start to give them an identity of something, a positive relationship to something.
Yeah,
a positive relationship to something that has nothing to do with Western cultural values. And then you're going to see that Andrew Tate was, you could have stopped the train with Warren Farrell. You could have stopped the train with Jordan Peterson. You could have stopped the train with Andrew Tate. And now there is no, after this, there's nothing. There's nothing left. There's nothing left. And the reason why I say that is because the last thing that the feminists gave men as a way to differentiate themselves as men and still have something of a positive identity with society and women was as a playboy, which is exactly what Andrew Tate is. He is the end of the line, folks.
Yeah, no, he's
the last stop before the cliff.
He's literally men described by Professor Mahalik.
Yes,
in his inventory of masculine norms.
You know what feminism has done? It's basically narrowed the relationship, the positive relationship between society and masculinity. So before feminism,
it's basically said there is nothing for Gilgamesh. There is nothing for Gilgamesh other than what he was at the start of the epic.
Yeah, there's nothing for Gilgamesh to be. There's nothing for young men to contribute positively to society as men. The one thing left to them was Playboy, and that's Andrew Tate. Yeah. And now we're getting rid of that. We're basically saying to young men, there is no way for you to participate positively in society. There is no positive identity for you in our society. You think that young men are just going to, what do you expect from them? Well, first of all, they're going to stop participating in society. And they may just end up...
If they're not capable of being playboys, yeah.
If they're not capable of being playboys...
We're going to get playboys and we're going to get simps, and that's it. And the playboys...
No, we're not even going to get that. We're not even going to get that, Karen. Because we are now in the process of destroying the last thing that feminists said was at all pro-social, a pro-social masculine identity. And it was only 1% of men who identified with Playboy.
Yeah.
So every young man is now landing on that as the only pro-social identity available to him. And we're in the process of destroying that as well. So what's going to happen is we're going to eject all the young men into this place where there is no pro-social way to engage with society. Feminism doesn't offer any kind of pro-social way to recognize your unique value as a man and engage with society. And what I mean by that is ask a feminist, what are positive masculine traits that you define as masculine in the same way you define negative traits, toxic traits? They can't answer. And if they do, they give you mealy-mouthed answers like, well, traditional... I'm not talking about traditional masculinity. I'm talking about your masculinity. There's nothing positive in it. The feminist perception of masculinity offers absolutely no way for a young man to identify as a man and participate positively in society. I want you to just think about that. And the last thing was Playboy. Andrew Tate is the last stop on this train, and then young men will have absolutely no way to identify as men and participate positively and be recognized as participating positively in our society. That means you're going to have a generation of young men after we successfully destroy Andrew Tate and throw him into the wolves or whatever neo Andrew Tate comes after him. After we successfully destroy young men's ability to identify with Playboy, which incidentally, most men wouldn't normally, but that's the last thing left to them. They're going to be gone from our society. We are going to recognize no way that a young man participates positively within society as a young man, as a man. And they are going to be left adrift. They are no longer going to be recognized as part of our society. And we will have done that to them and to ourselves. You think that generation of young men with absolutely no identity, no positive identity, who do you think is going to pick those guys up when it's not Andrew Tate? No connection now to Western culture. No connection between their masculinity and some kind of positive contribution to Western culture. They're completely cut off now. We've completely cut off an entire generation of men from our own culture. And we have chosen that deliberately, and we have said it to them. We have said that we cannot, as a culture, recognize the unique value of men to our culture, because that means women are excluded from something, and we can't do that. We cut them off. And where are they going to go?
What's the biggest complaint about Andrew Tate? He exploits women. Okay, well, he seduces young women. Apparently, they really like Bugattis and abs and mansions, and at least these ones do. And then he brings them into the business of scamming men out of money. Right? They're cam girls, but they're not just any cam girls. The cam girls do the performance in front of the camera, right? And they pretend to type, right? On camera. But who's actually typing is one of Andrew Tate's male employees, workers, whatever, right? And that's the person who's actually telling this man in Britain that, oh, my Romanian mother is so sick. She's so sick. She needs hospital. She needs operation. Send me 25,000 pounds or she die. Right? Okay? So that's what you get. That's what the 80-20 rule gets you. Right? Is it's not just women being exploited. It's men too.
Yeah, of course.
And it's the well-meaning men. It's the men who do think, oh, this cam girl, right? Yeah, I looked at a cam girl and I interacted with her, and once I got to know her, she seemed so lovely, and she says she wants to come and visit me in person. And, oh no, her mother needs an operation, and she needs 25,000 pounds. And, she shouldn't have to deal with that. And she shouldn't have to be performing in front of a camera. I could make an honest woman out of her if I just sent her $25,000 to get her mom that surgery and then fly her over here and we can get married. So all of these well-intentioned men, all of these men that the feminists say, oh, men should be this way. Men should be this way, right? They're being screwed by men like Andrew Tate and his fucking harem of freaking whores.
Yeah.
Right? Who are also in it for the money. They weren't complaining.
No, of course not. But of course, they're also the biggest victims. But let me, I got a super chat and we should play some more of the video. So,
okay.
So I got a super chat for $2 from Senior Sticks. And he says, Pearl keeping saying this. Is it true or not? Okay. Thank you, Senior Sticks. I'm sorry. I don't quite understand, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Can I just say one thing? Okay. Using your Gilgamesh example, it'd be like Sumer saying to Gilgamesh, yeah, you have nothing. We don't need you for a damn thing. Go into the wild with Enkidu and stay there because you have nothing positive to contribute to society. And I guess then Gilgamesh goes into the wild with Enkidu and they form a raiding tribe and just,
Well, no, or Gilgamesh just remains as he was at the start of the story, claiming the brides of men newly married and fucking them on the wedding night and treating everybody like shit and running roughshod over everybody, sending the young men out to war, raping women, all of those things, right? That's what he did, right? Well, because that's masculinity before it goes through the process.
Okay, well, and regardless, I don't think that's quite what I'm trying to get at. It's the total rejection of men from society. When you totally reject men from society,
you can't become something better. There's nothing that you can do, right? Because if you're a breadwinner, you're stealing a job from a woman, right? If you're a husband, you're enslaving a woman in matrimony. If you're a father, you're probably abusive, right? If you're anything productive,
no positive traits, no positive masculine traits, nothing that men can provide for society that's positive. You've essentially severed men's identity from society completely. Like, I don't know if this is confusing, but it's like there's no way for a man to be in our society as a man and contribute positively to it. There's no way to recognize that he does. And this is
unique. There's nothing unique to him.
As a man.
Yeah,
as a man.
Women will always have the uniqueness of being able to give birth, right? Even if they choose not to, right? They always have that, right? Men, right? What do they have? Fatherhood, that's oppression and legally tenuous, right? And they have their penis, which is a weapon of gender war.
Okay, let's look at it this way. Let's imagine we're in a walled city, all right? And this walled city has got a hair up its ass about young men. And it's decided that there's no way for a young man to exist within the walled city in a positive manner. So they say to all the young men, well, you can either just recognize that there's nothing for you to contribute as a young man. So there's no way for you to feel like you have a unique contribution being a man in our society, or you can leave. And essentially, or actually, we don't even give you the choice. Just leave. So that this walled city is pushing out all of its young men. What position does that...
Then it's like the power's out. Who's going to fix it?
What position does that put the walled city in when it's removed all of its young men? Well, what do you think's going to happen? What's the future for this walled city with all of its young men exiled? Right? Just think about that.
It would be
What's likely to happen?
It would be so easy, right? Because it wasn't hard for me to teach my boys to value themselves, right? Taught my daughter to value herself too, right? But it's not hard. It's not hard, and it's not hard as a parent who recognizes what's going on and what's being kind of bounced around in the culture, to counteract that and to basically just prepare them, and bolster them and say, okay, well, you can't listen to this and you can't listen to that because it's bullshit. It's total bullshit. But we need somebody to actually stop the Greek chorus, right? The Greek chorus of women's victimhood and men's perpetration, of women's virtue and men's vice, right? We need to silence that chorus, because that is really what is happening within the culture. And not all parents are even really aware of it. And a lot of parents who are aware of it believe it. There are so many parents out there who actually believe their boys are bad.
Yeah, and let's look at it this way. Andrew Tate may be one of the first times that many of these young men that look up to him have ever heard a positive word about themselves as young men.
Yeah.
That is the first time somebody has said it's okay to be a young man.
Yeah, you want Andrew Tate to be your son's role model? Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, keep going. Keep going with that Greek chorus. Keep exiling your young men. See what a wonderful future that's going to create for you. And the thing is that the conservatives have no solution to this. The liberals have no solution to this. A lot of people I talk to seem to blame socialism, and it's like, well, where do you think socialism comes from? It's from female intersexual competition.
Yeah.
Well, let's be honest. It doesn't even matter that the main thinkers were men, because usually main thinkers are. The main thinker of feminism was a man. Okay, you're really going to say that feminism has nothing to do with women? So this idea that it really does all come down to the messaging that we're giving young men. And we are exiling them from our society. We're saying we have no role for you. Well, they're not going to sit on their ass. If the last person who says that there's something good to being a man is Andrew Tate, of course they're going to listen to him. So what's the alternative? Blowing their brains out? And then being blamed for it by their parents?
My son...
Jesus Christ.
My son showed me a video the other day when we were driving to the store. It was this guy, it was on Instagram or something. And he's like, oh, this was pretty funny. And it's like a video of some guy saying, okay, so here's some dating advice that I've taken from the comments under my videos. Women's comments under my videos. Always text her. Never text her. Call. Make sure you call. Don't text her, call. Oh, don't call. That's creepy, right? And he just goes through all of the contradictions. Take her out for a couple of drinks. Oh, no, never drinks, right? And it's just like, and if you do all that, you'll get a girlfriend. And it's like, yeah, no, and this is what young men, like my son, this is what he watches. He thinks it's apropos, right? This is my youngest son. And he's just like, yeah, no, this is what it feels like. This is what it feels like. Because no matter what you do, you've done wrong. If you text her, wrong. If you don't text her, wrong. If you call her, wrong. If you don't call her, wrong. If you take her out for drinks, wrong. If you don't take her out for drinks, wrong. If you say, oh, let's just hang out and chill, wrong, right? If you do say, let's hang out and chill, wrong, right? Never say, oh, you just want to hang out and chill, but say you just want to hang out and chill, right? And it's just like this, there's no rules anymore because women threw away the rule book. That's what feminists did. Feminists and women, with women's connivance, threw away the rule book, and now there's nothing. There's no roadmap for young men. There's no way for them to even navigate the dating world or hookup culture.
All right, before we continue, I just want to remind everyone to send those messages to feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And do consider putting that through because it really helps the show, helps us be able to afford to continue to do this work each month. So once again, that's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And I just want to do a shout out again for editing my book.
Allison? Hello?
Oh, sorry.
She's muted.
When did I mute?
Right after you said you're editing your book.
Shout out for editing your book.
Yeah, and if you would like to help me out with that, it's at feedthebadger.com/support at this moment. And I just want to say a few words on why this is important to me, this particular project. I feel like the way that we analyze things, the way that we analyze how societies work and how they function, is it's more than just an important point of view to really understand where we're going as a society and what we need to change in order to effect a better outcome. But I also think that it's a groundwork for returning to a greater understanding of character and being able to write and depict character in a way that I personally, like, I've read a lot of books lately, I've read a lot of books in history. We lost something somewhere in, I don't know, maybe it was the 90s, in terms of our ability to depict character and really understand how people work. And I wanted to get back to that. And so that's one reason why I think that this is a really important project. And I think there needs to be more depiction of men and women working together in relationships of respect and affection. And I don't see a lot of that in fiction today. And I want to bring that back as well as a recognition of women's particular ability to have power over the world around them. So anyway, if that sounds of interest to you, and it just occurred to me because I was in an argument recently with Michael Flood. You know Michael Flood, eh, Karen? He is a feminist professor, and he gets me so frustrated because I get to the point where we're talking, and I ask him a question. In this case, I told him, you guys are killing love. You're destroying love. And he's like, he laughed at me. He said, I'm laughing at you. And I said, the reason why I say you're doing that is because you're presenting the relationship between men and women as one of more defined by violence, that men are more defined in their relationship and their attitude towards women by violence than love. And that's destroying the relationship between men and women. And he blathered and he said, well, if men are defined by violence, it's because a minority of men are violent. And men need to realize that as long as a minority of men are violent, it's right to judge all men as complicit in that violence. And I'm like, would you say the same thing about trans women, that they should be judged by a violent minority, or Muslim men, or black men? And he 100% refused to answer that question or even engage with it. No, actually what he said is, well, that's different. We need to look at that with nuance. And I'm like, you just answered my question.
Yeah.
One, you will bald-faced say that men should endure the pain of being subject to a broad brush based on the violence of a minority of men. But if we want to do the same to any other group, it needs nuance. Yep. And then he went into this long tirade about how I was disingenuous, and that he didn't want to engage with that question because I was being disingenuous because of blah blah blah, because of a previous thing that we had exchanged. And I'm like, these individuals like Michael Flood, they have a stranglehold on how we perceive the relationship between men and women and the value of men in society. They have a stranglehold on it. And it's horrible. And I want to do something to change it. And I know that many cases, just let me finish that. I know that in many cases, people understand this stuff better through characters than they do through abstractions or even events. So that's what I want to present. I want to present this thesis, what we talk about here, in a story. And if you want to see that happen, feedthebadger.com/support. It's really important to me that happens. Okay, back to you, Karen. Go ahead.
I was just wondering. Okay, so I kind of stepped into the middle of a conversation between you and Michael Flood, where he was asking about a self-described proclivity towards rape for women, or sexual aggression for women. He wanted a study of women's predictions of how likely they would be to sexually coerce men. And I was just like, why?
Well, he posted this study that, okay, oh God, I've been in it with him for like months now. And finally I just muted him because I just couldn't stand it anymore. But I had said that feminists present these studies in which they say, X amount of college men would rape. And I say that they lump in all kinds of behaviors like giving her a glass of wine at dinner. And even in the study itself, that isn't considered to be rape. It's considered to be coercive. which I think is really stretching it. Or alternatively, making an argument why they not a threat, but just giving a woman an argument, not like a verbal disagreement, but just like a presenting.
Nagging.
This is my bullet point list of why you should sleep with me. Okay, and they presented that coercion, right? And I'm like, no, there's a difference between trying to get a woman's consent and invalidating her ability to say no.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Contravening it. Like, you can do that with threats. You can do that with physical violence. You can do that with drugging to the point of unconsciousness.
Well,
right?
And but arguably, if you say, well, I'm not interested in having a romantic relationship, in being a boyfriend to you, if there's no sex involved, right? And they would consider that to be coercive, right? And it's just like, yeah, well, no, take it or leave it, right? Like, these are the terms for what I expect in a relationship. And if you are not willing to provide that, then we can go our separate ways. That's coercion, according to these people.
Yep.
But how useful are these fucking studies? These self-assessed proclivity studies? Right?
Useless, basically.
Useless, right? Because you could say, well, oh God, you could say, would you ever do this? Number one, you never might be in an opportunity to do it. Would I like to have $1 million? Yes. Would I do this? Would I do that? Would I do this other thing? Would I blah, blah, blah? Right? No. All you have, right, that is in any way reliable, he's talking about, 25% of men in college say they would rape or sexually aggress against women, right? And then he's like, well, show me the studies that say the same, where women say the same things. They wouldn't say that about themselves. Sometimes even if they've done it.
Well, actually, I was thinking about studies in which women self-report sexual coercion and sexual violence against men.
They self-report at extremely high levels, right?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at. But then,
and it's like that they've done it, right? And he's saying, well, but that's not the same as women assessing their proclivity to do it in the future. And it's like, that's meaningless, right? You could say, well, yeah, I would do that if I was presented with the opportunity. Sure, I would do it. I have said repeatedly, I would kill somebody if necessary and not freaking lose a moment of sleep, right? If I was Kyle Rittenhouse that night, yeah, I would have shot all those fucking 3 guys. I wouldn't have fucking lost a moment of sleep. I wouldn't have felt a moment of guilt about it. Right? Okay? Does that mean that I'm going to go out and shoot someone? No! Am I ever going to be in that position? No! Right?
I even pointed that out.
If I was in that position, would I try something different? Yes!
Okay, well, let me put it this way. When I talk to people like Michael Flood, who are just this sheer amount of reckless hate, and it's not just this apparent hatred towards men, it's this kind of disgusting hatred towards seeing men and women together.
Yeah,
it's almost like this.
He's gay, Allison.
I think he said he was in a loving relationship with a woman, but regardless, even if he is gay, not all gay men act like that. Okay? So it's like this hatred of seeing men and women love each other. There must be some kind of word for this kind of pathology. And when I encounter it, and I know that it has such a freaking voice in the world, like it's everywhere. It's in academia, it's in media, it's in the government.
Well, it's
this
academia spread its tentacles everywhere, because academia is what populates every freaking aspect,
idea,
every institution, right?
But
So,
I see this everywhere, and it's so
government, law, the legal system, everything. There's feminist tentacles in everything. It is like a freaking, it's like a noxious weed that they cultivated in academia. Like my neighbor waters his freaking creeping bellflowers, and they're just popping up all across my lawn. They're a noxious weed, and the city bylaw officers, they can see them all over my front yard, but they can't see past his fence to his flower bed full of them in his backyard.
Okay, so my point is that when I engage with these people, it feels exhausting and silencing.
It's gross, and like that. You need to prove it. Like, open your fucking eyes.
Yeah, well, open your eyes to what you're actually doing.
No, open your eyes
like I said,
to what's actually happening out there.
And the only thing I can think of is maybe to offer like an alternative view of something that's less nihilistic, less misanthropic, because ultimately when you say this about men and women, about the relationship between men and women, that it's defined by hate, basically. The hate of the oppressor for the oppressed and the hatred of the oppressed for the oppressor. It's like this, you end up basically defining all human relationships in the most degraded, destructive, and disturbing terms. It's an unbelievably misanthropic approach to everything. And it's so exhausting to see and to not be able to say anything, like not be able to present a counter argument to. I mean, we can present a counter argument, but that just seems to gloss over people. So ultimately, I guess this project, at feedthebadger.com/support is my way of approaching it from another front.
Well, I will say Warren Farrell actually, the first time I talked to him, which like by email, was when I put up my very first blog post, and then my husband sent the link to him, to Warren Farrell. He was my boyfriend at the time, and asked what he thought of it. And then I got home from work, and he said, "You're going to be really mad at me." And I was like, "What did you do?" And he told me, and I was so mad at him. And then, like an hour later, Warren Farrell emails back, and I was like, "Oh, well, now I'm not so mad." But he said that given my background of like writing novels, I should write novels with men's rights themes. And that's not precisely how I construct fiction, right? Like I just can't do it. I can't pick like a cause and like construct a novel.
I don't think anybody who's read the story, I mean, it's now in a developmental edit stage, so it's going to change somewhat, but I don't think anybody who's read the story has really identified the theme. It's there.
No, it's there. It's not there. And but I can't. I don't. It's not the way I write books. I write books. I start with a scene and some characters with backstories, and then I just write. And I don't storyboard. I don't outline. I don't know the plot. The plot comes to me as I go, right? So I'm very chaotic in that way. And so there was no way I could, when I write essays, right? That's totally different. I can construct a good essay, but like very, very detailed and orderly and explanatory and surrounding a theme and all of that. Blog posts and stuff like that. But I can't do that with fiction. I just can't. And but I'm glad that you can, because he actually said that would be like something that would present the themes and the ideas
let me put it this way.
In fiction.
The theme is there. I didn't do the usual thing where, like the way the feminist is presented dystopia and basically a woman living in a world that's that kind of thing. I didn't do it that way. I did it in a way that, you know, it comes out of the story, it comes out of the characters, it comes out of the resolution of the climax. But it's not something that you necessarily read and be able to put your finger on saying, "Oh yeah, this is based on men's rights." Like my editor is a normie. I don't think she's even aware
no,
that
I mean,
she's
like,
working with Cthulhu.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's like you're not being obvious. Like, you know, that you remember that Star Trek Next Generation episode where Commander Riker falls in love with that androgynous person who has gender. You remember?
Okay, yeah.
She identifies as female, even though there is no gender in her society, and then she gets reprogrammed, and you know, it's supposed to really make you think, and all of that, right? Like it's, I'm sure it's not going to be anything remotely as obvious as that. But
No.
but
well, in fact, I wrote a story.
But if I had tried to do something men's rightsy, write a men's rights novel, it would have been that obvious.
The way that I approach my writing, it's a little similar to yours, is chaotic too. I just think about the things I want to say, and then I forget about them and write a story. And then somehow it just comes out. I don't know. I'm a little bit weird. But anyway, if you want to support that kind of a project, I mean, I don't know if it's going to work, but it might be a bit of a Hail Mary. But I really want to bring something, like something that recognizes the beauty of humanity and the relationship between men and women into the world. And if you want to see that too, feedthebadger.com/support. I really appreciate it, because it's sort of my salvation whenever I have to deal with the Michael Floods of the world, who seem to be hell bent on destroying anything good in it. So anyway, once again, feedthebadger.com/support. And we should watch a little bit more, I think, because I know Brian has a hard limit for when he can stay.
I do. I have to pick Lindsay up at 7, and it's 6 o'clock almost. But I did get more Super Childs and stuff, so I should read through them. So Sleepy Aussie bot, or I'm sorry, just Sleepy Aussie. I don't mean to read the bot part. Gives us $20 and says, "Hey Badgers, here's a tip to help you keep up the good work." So thank you, Sleepy Aussie, for that. I really appreciate it. And then I got another one from Richard Bier, and this is kind of a mouthful. He says, "When the Calhoun mouse utopia habitat experiment went into its final die-off stage, the researchers found that there was nothing they could do to reverse the decline at all. The beautiful ones, when placed in a new habitat, wouldn't even attempt mating behavior. So if a tipping point does get crossed, then it will be highly likely that there will be no reversal or recovery because the psychological factors won't be overcome." Thanks for that, White Pill.
I wanted to speak to
and
that.
Then, what was that?
No, Allison.
Briefly. I just want to say one thing.
Allow me to digest my black pill, okay? Because that is only one of the two black pills.
What's the other one?
Oil.
Yes, yeah. If we need, this is our shot. We got to take it. Otherwise, we're gonna be an extinct species.
We need to achieve escape velocity this time.
We need to achieve escape velocity, and the fundamental truth of it is either the Earth is just insatiate matter, in which case it doesn't fucking matter if it's preserved, or it does have its own will in a kind of way, like the Gaia hypothesis, in which case Earth created us. Earth wants us, and Earth wants us to escape Earth. Because we are of Earth. Like, we don't get away from that. And our destiny is Earth's destiny. Okay? So anyway, I just wanted to say that. But the other thing is that I think we can still stop it. We are still at the Andrew Tate stage, so we are entering the final stop before the cliff. I mean, the Michael Floods of the world seem to be hell-bent on kicking out the brakes and opening the throttle towards the cliff, but who knows? Maybe there we can appeal to a critical mass of women to challenge this and do so in a way that doesn't necessarily involve this highly toxic competition between women. But anyway, do you see how I did that, Brian? Let's watch some more.
Wait, I'm not done. I have to read all the super chats and stuff. So Senior Sticks gives us $2 and says, "Can your book be VR and digital for Oculus Rift?" I don't know how that works, but
Probably not.
I don't know. I mean, maybe. Do they?
My dog is wooing. But
Okay.
no, I don't even understand what that is. Just explain it, and maybe I can.
He wants to make it into like basically a hollow novel for VR.
So a novel he can read in VR.
No,
I mean-
novel he can watch in VR.
I don't know how that would work.
And maybe even participate in.
Yeah, well, I think we need a slightly bigger budget than the one we have to do that. So
I cannot answer that question with my current state of
unless
knowledge.
there's some app that takes like a Kindle and makes it into a VR Kindle where you're in VR looking at the Kindle in the virtual space, in which case
I don't
why don't
think
you
he
just get
wants
the
to
Kindle?
read it. I think he wants to experience it.
Yeah, well,
Okay, when I have a
help us sell
Hollywood
the
budget
book,
like
and
a
when
Marvel
we
movie,
sell like 10 million copies and we have a movie, then I'm pretty sure the video game and VR adaptation will come. So, good luck.
yeah, we'll see, huh?
We'll need
Okay, yeah.
Sleepy Aussie.
That's a lot
again.
of pressure here.
Well, yeah, I know. Make sure it's a bestseller. Otherwise, you're not getting any more support. Sleepy Aussie gives another $5 and says, "Allison, how do I support your book?" Feed the Badger says the fundraiser for the book is closed.
Yes,
Support.
because I didn't update the time. I just updated the time. So if you want to help out, sorry, but guys, if you were trying to help out, I was wondering why nobody was putting anything
there you
through.
go.
I changed the date so that there's another week on it because I've been just doing it. I've been opening it up monthly because I know it's a bit of a marathon to get this thing edited properly. So if you can go to feedthebadger.com/support and throw a few shekels in the hat for that, that's very much appreciated. Thank you, Sleepy Aussie, for pointing that out. I'm guessing that if you hadn't, I would have gone the whole week and wondered why no one cares. It would have been because I hadn't opened up the fundraiser again.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway,
it'd be
now
like me at the grocery store tapping, right? And it's like declined, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then I'm like, I come home and I realize, oh, I sent myself an email money transfer from my other bank account. I just forgot to deposit it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay,
right,
so
well-
anyway, it is live now. Feedthebadger.com/support. And again, if you want to help me fight back against the Michael Floods of the world, who seem to be hell bent in
God.
creating this narrative that human beings are awful,
He's
and
so
men in
horrible.
particular. I mean, and the other thing is that even if you, I know what it does with men, presenting them as oppressors, but ultimately it's such a contemptuous view of women that it's hard not to encourage people's contempt towards women on almost like a subconscious level.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right,
Let's
playing some
keep
more.
let's do a little bit more. I
Going
did
to
the
school.
segue,
We
Brian.
can
yeah.
when we go to school tomorrow because they're gonna be so.
How much longer is this?
I normally sit next to Tara in biology, but I'm
How
not
much
sitting next to
longer?
that bitch. We have to go in early, and
I don't know.
We'll just sit next to me. We're just gonna ignore them.
Well, until what? Until the end of the whole segment?
Well, I mean, okay, let's just watch it. Maybe
All right.
maybe
And
she
we
ends
should
it.
actually we'll talk about how great. No, let's match. Let's match. Yeah, let's match jackets. Okay, we'll match jackets. Oh no, wear the same hat.
We're almost done, I think. Okay.
How high do the levels of cringe have to be before you die of toxic shock? Asking for a friend. The thing is, outside of the odd feminist, does anyone actually care what you do in your personal life? I mean, I have questions, arguments, and disagreements with women should submit to men as a general statement. But if you want to do that in your own personal relationship, it's none of my business and I don't care. Do what makes you happy. This just feels like you're looking for a reaction and some attention, wanting to provoke people into either getting mad or praising you. I feel like if you really didn't care, you would just get on with it and not make passive-aggressive videos about it, but okay. Also, I find it weird that you address your statement to single women, implying that other women's lack of submission is the reason they're single, when, isn't Pearl single? If you're going to be childish and trashy enough to flex your own desirability over other women on the internet, maybe, like, back it up? Produce a man to prove that you've won over these feminists that no one wants.
What the hell? Like, men is not winning. Okay?
Yeah.
I think that men are not a win condition. They're a companion. Good
Well,
Lord.
Yeah, no, but I will say that the little TikTok thing was kind of cringy.
Yeah, it was a little cringy.
Yeah, but okay, is it just the selection bias here? Because I feel like we've not attended to anything substantive aside from me and you going off there, Karen. I think
About
we were
Michael
talking about
Flood.
substantive
This
things.
basically is a Michael Flood episode, suddenly.
Mm.
Plot twist.
Yeah,
Yeah,
suddenly.
well, you know. Well, there's
Yeah.
nothing particularly. This is just a cat fight.
It is. I'm you want me to go to the red pill does not understand femininity part, maybe?
Yes.
Okay, I'll jump
Please,
to that.
get me-
Maybe there'll
get
be
me out
something
of
more
this section.
contentious there.
Yeah, this section that's like a little bit tedious.
It's kind of petty, I know, but in a way this is useful because this is exactly the kind of shit that we can avoid. So
I'm
I got
wondering if there's
another
something in this large middle that, like, if you guys are watching
well,
this and
there's a
you're like,
big
we're
chunk here that's called
mischaracterizing
Pearl
it.
doesn't understand sex trafficking, and it goes on for a pretty long while. And then there's
well,
like a
let's
section.
just do.
What?
Okay,
Let's go to
now-
the big lump there, the big
Which
sugar
one?
lump. Yeah, the biggest sugar lump, sort of in the middle. Yeah, there you go. No, the sex trafficking one. Just let's get a little sample
Right
of that.
here?
The big sugar lump. Yeah, right there, big sugar
All
lump.
right. All right. I don't know what this is, so I haven't seen it. All right.
And then he springs it on him with who? His modern. So Andrew Tate says, "You're not stupid," and he's talking to one of the victims. "You're not stupid, and you can probably guess how I make so much money. I have to hide what I'm really doing." And the victim says, "The webcam?" And he says, "I've been doing this for a long time with a team of girls working on video chat. The company was fake, but this is how I laundered my dirty money. Some of the girls who worked for me, I use them to do other things, to move money or illegal things, documents, and I will never do that with you." Basically telling the girl, you're different from the others. I make them do the really illegal stuff. Again, they have it right here.
Oh, good
in the
Lord, this
wiretaps.
guy's such a freaking tool.
Maybe he's been framed. Maybe the chat logs are fake and the Matrix faked it and set him up. Maybe. But that's really hard to believe when all over various podcasts and in that video he constantly talks about how he lies to women to get them to do what he wants. So why would that be any different? What's also fucking hilarious is how people say how truthful he is. It's like, a man of integrity. Oh, he's always so honest.
Oh
He's
God,
stating
this is
facts.
about Andrew
This is-
Tate.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
slime ball. He's a pimp. I don't think he's a sex trafficker because I don't believe in women being in men's thrall. And also, I have read some of the freaking logs that have been submitted. That woman he's with, I think her name is Gabrielina or something. Holy shit, she's a psycho. Like that even just through the text logs of her, Tate, Tristan, or sorry, Andrew, Tristan, and the other chick that Gabri, I think it's Gabriella or something like that. She is actually facing more charges than the Tate brothers. And having read the logs, I am not surprised
Well,
because it sounds like these two dudes got a lot of very sketchy women, and then they found one who was a bit too hot to handle because she is violent. And anyway, I just put that out there.
I don't know anything in particular about Andrew Tate other than the fact that he was charged under lover boy laws, right, which are basically seduction laws, and so I believe that those laws should probably not exist, because if you're a woman of character, if you're not a sketchy woman, if you're not a freaking gold digging whore, you wouldn't fall for an Andrew Tate.
Well,
Right?
I don't think they should exist because they essentially take away women's moral autonomy or the recognition of women as morally autonomous.
Yeah, no. If you had any kind of character, if you had any kind of morality, if you had any kind of ethical center, if you were not a gold digging whore, you would not fall for someone like Andrew Tate. You wouldn't, right? Increasingly, women are becoming the type of women who would fall for an Andrew Tate. What is the difference between Andrew Tate and Christian Grey? Other than Andrew Tate rented out his bitch.
Christian Grey is so unbelievably creepily and violent and abusive.
Yeah.
I guess maybe Andrew Tate is like that. I don't know.
No.
But anyway, this is talking about Andrew Tate.
I'm not even accusing Andrew Tate of being violent and abusive. I'm just saying, like, holding women
essentially
in thrall, being incredibly wealthy, incredibly good-looking, incredibly successful, looks absolutely stunning in a suit, super great freaking $900 shoes. Okay, that is those two men, right? Very dominant.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't want to talk about Andrew Tate.
You can't say Andrew Tate is not a product of the women around him when that fucking book, 50 Shades of Grey, is more popular than Harry Potter.
Okay, I got another super chow. I'm gonna read it, and then we'll you want to go to another hump in here. So Richard B. gives us $10 and says the VR holo novel would be like the walking tour of the fallopian tubes as a walkthrough of women's/feminist history that you did a while back. I think you're referring to. Can we do like a virtual tour of some like art installation?
Richard, that's sort of insulting, to be honest.
Okay.
I think he's just trying to be funny, Allison. Allow them to spurg out. Right. You know how they are. They're spurgs.
We need to do a hard stop at some point.
Yeah.
My dogs are going nuts. Both of them.
Yeah. Okay, all right. I've satisfied myself with this. I don't want to go over Andrew Tate again as a topic.
What about Red Pill does not understand femininity? How about I just jump to there and see what she says?
Just do it.
This is where I think Red Pillars are just dead wrong. Pearl 2, they just seem to have the most shallow understanding of femininity. Like, from what I can see, it's, oh, sweet, compliant, submissive, smells and cleans. Are you done? Actually, don't answer that. I am sick of the constant fucking flawed assumption of a starting point that femininity is submission. That now seems to be taken for granted with Red Pillars, as if the conversation is over. It's decided there's just... No. I think you have a flawed premise. And that's why this is such a mess. I'm not going to go over it now. I've kind of talked about this quite a lot in quite a lot of other videos, and I plan to talk about it more in the future on what I think femininity is or means. But so my dad said something interesting during that conversation we had where I interviewed him for the Rolo video, and this didn't make it in there. But we were talking about, we were talking about masculinity and femininity as like deeper forces from a spiritual perspective. And I asked him how he would sum up what he would boil the essence of femininity down to, and he immediately described it as absorbent, was kind of what he said. And I was immediately like, oh, that's interesting. And I don't have time to go into it now. I can't go into it now. There'll probably be a video for another time. But yeah, I don't think he's wrong. There's anyway.
So her father says that femininity is absorbent. I'm mostly just pausing for the banana, but I wanted to set the next bit up. I don't know
It
if
is.
she's going to go
It
into
is.
that a little bit.
You know why? You know why I think that femininity is absorbent? It's because of the Yanomami.
The what?
The Yanomami.
Oh.
So the description of it was a Brazilian girl who was kidnapped by the Yanomami tribe, and she was raised by them, and then rescued eventually as an adult. And she told her story, and she described an attack on her tribe by the Karawateri, which was a rival tribe, and the Karawateri men basically killed all of the boys and all of the girls under maybe age 8 or 9, and all of the men, and took all of the women and the 8+ girls hostage, right? Took them into their tribe, right? And then they became Karawateri. Well, why did the Karawateri kill all of the non-productive, dependent Yanomami girls and all of the males? Because they're not absorbent.
Right.
Well, the girls, they would be absorbent, but they are too much resource. They're resource hungry, and they can't work, right? So they kill the girls. They kill all the males because the males are not absorbent.
Yeah.
They would not assimilate.
Yeah.
They would remain Yanomami and make trouble.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh, and the Yanomami, they took
Yeah.
refuge in a grotto, right? In a cave with water at the bottom of it, right?
Yeah.
And they were hiding, and the Karawateri spotted one of them who was closest to the mouth of the cave, and he pointed his arrow at her and told her to come out, and she didn't just come out. She told them that there were other women and girls and children, right? Women and girls and boys hiding in the cave. So,
and then there's also, I mean, to as a counter,
because that ingratiates you to the people who are now in charge of you.
okay, but as a counter to that, there's also the effect where women are radicalizing men. For example, in Islam, in
Well,
radical,
sure,
like,
but then
Islamists.
the women will often, they'll radicalize their men will go off, they'll get killed, and then the women will be like, oh, I guess I was fucking wrong, gotta survive now.
Yeah.
Yeah, or
Gotta be absorbent.
Oh, that's being absorbed, isn't it? More than absorbent.
It's absorbing your
Okay,
new
but anyway,
situation.
okay,
It's
so I guess that's an interesting point by this individual, that femininity, the essence of femininity is absorbent.
Well,
I mean, I'd have my own opinion on that, but
well, we could wait. We could see if she expands on it. I got a super chow from Xeranx. He gives us $5, but he doesn't say anything. So thank you for the 5. And I'm gonna make that go away. All right, let's play some more. Let's see. I want to see if she goes into it a bit.
But not submissive, and there is a distinction there, a subtle but very important one. If you want to label it submission, then that's a conversation. That's a conversation of the deeper sense of the word. But this shallow view, submit, it's so annoying. I don't think that submission is about. Also, if you are going to talk about it femininity. I don't think that it's in regards to the relationship with masculinity. If you were going to talk about femininity in those terms, femininity can exist on its own as a force, which necessarily makes it something other than its essence being defined by being dominated by the masculine. It's so stupid. If there was ever any deeper truth in that, in any way, shape or form, I'm no longer even interested in having that conversation, because as far as I can tell, a big chunk of red pill people use the word submissive synonymously with inferior, less intelligent, less complex, and less human, and they throw it out there as a conversation ender that means women should just shut up and know our place and do what we're told. It's just become a way to crap on women and use as an excuse that they should have everything their way and not have to compromise on anything because, oh, women submit.
Okay, wait. I on one level I agree with her, and on other level I think she's going off in a very strange direction. This is something that I saw Andrew Tate say, that this is women's nature, they can't be any other way, and I pointed out that absolves women from moral responsibility. And yes, excuse me, I had to sneeze. I'm sorry, I should have muted.
Bless you, Allison.
What the problem I have is when it isn't recognized that women have moral they have agency, and in the fact that we need to recognize it, because there are certain aspects of power that women have that men don't have control over. So if women don't take responsibility for it, those will be the hooks that destroy our society, because there's no one else to take responsibility for it. The dialogue, and the thing is, but the problem for me is that yes, there are Andrew Tates who say that, women, they have this kind of selfishness or focus on resources or whatever else, and they can't change that about themselves, or they can't rise above it. There's that. But then there's also the attitude that women are not moral agents because all they do is good, and if they do any bad, it's because they were in the thrall of a man. Which is interesting if you think about it, because on the one hand, you attribute it to women's nature, and you say that they can't overcome their nature because that's just the way they are. And then the other way, you attribute it to men's nature, and you say, well, women can't overcome it because men are so much more powerful than them. And in both ways, you're actually taking away recognition of women as moral agents, as having the ability to make these choices. Maybe there is a natural inclination to X, Y, and Z, but nature isn't destiny for humans. Anyway, that's what I wanted to point out. I don't think that's what she's getting at, though. And I'd also like to point out that submission really, the real word that it means is trust.
Yeah, I think that I was gonna say I think it's like faith. You could put it that way. Like, if we're gonna let's put it in religious context, I guess, or Christian context to get an idea. Because what I think they're pulling from when they say women should submit, and I'm not talking about Andrew Tate's perspective per se, but it's like if you, let's put it in a broader context, because I think that when people talk about that, they're speaking from a spiritual perspective. Okay, let's put it that. And she herself is saying like that she asked her dad about this, what women's nature is from a spiritual perspective. So we'll have to start with men. So I think that men are asked to, you could say, submit to the transcendent, to the infinite, to God. Okay.
Yeah.
And what that means is to have faith in that, to have faith in that. It's like a blind faith, but the expectation is that. Why is that? Because the idea, I think, is that if you run into problems or obstacles that you can control or affect the outcome on, then you do that. But if you run into things that you cannot control, then you have to be able to say, okay, this isn't for me to do something about, because then you run the risk of behaving in a selfish or unethical or even evil fashion because you're trying to change something that you don't have control over, like human nature.
Yeah, you need to cope.
Yeah, you need to cope. And so what is asked is that men have faith in that so that they don't try to wrest it. And I think that, again, this is just putting it purely in this sort of context. Women should have faith in men. So it's like having faith in them and supporting them, but that also means, you know, working with them. I think someone said, and again, I'm sorry, but I'm using like sort of like biblical language, but that the reason why Eve was made from Adam's side is so that she could stand by his side, right? So it's like symbolic in that way. So I think that she sees submission as something like close to slavery, maybe, or some other way, but I don't think it's that. I think it's like you said. I think it's having faith, or it's
okay.
You know what I mean?
I'm looking at synonyms for the word submission, right? Agreement, acceptance, consent, accession, compliance, presenting, proffering, tendering, proposing, introducing, suggesting, venturing, broaching, aiming, lodging, positing.
Yeah. So, like I said, I think
you submit. Okay, you submit when you accept the things that you can't change. You submit to reality, right? Or you submit a job application or a report.
Yeah, sure.
Right? Or your opinion.
Well, I mean, it does make sense in the context of society. The outer shell of society is usually comprised of men because, in many cases, they're treated as more expendable. So men have to put their trust in the greater world.
In all cases.
In all cases.
Yeah, in
every case, men are expendable relative to women. So they occupy the outer layer that protects the inner layer from the outer world. So men have to submit to the vagaries of the outer world, and women have to trust that men will form that shield between them and the outer world.
That's
essentially
really
it. And if you want to change that, ladies, then take up arms for conscription. Take up arms
the
for
outer
being
fucking ring.
Man the outer Brianna of Tarth.
Woman the outer
fucking ring. Be Brianna of Tarth. You know.
Don't even be Brienne of Tarth, because not everybody got to be a knight.
Yeah.
Most of them were just foot soldiers with freaking leather jerkins.
Yeah, and, put your money where your mouth is. If you don't want... Well, honestly, the thing is that men still occupy that position.
Yeah.
They still are the guard that keeps society safe. And they're still the ones who keep the lights on. So they're still in that position. The only thing that's changed is that women have convinced themselves that they're doing it out of oppression of women, and that being part of that is somehow some exclusionary act of women. It's like it's the most resentful.
Do you remember? Do you remember the speech that what's his name gives in A Few Good Men, right? On the stand, right? You can't handle the truth.
Yeah.
The truth is that the world needs walls, and those walls need men, and those men need guns, right? And whatever, right? Okay. Now, that is true. The world needs walls. Those walls need men. Okay. Women, feminists, have basically said those walls, they've redefined them. Those are not walls to keep bad things out and away from the women. Those are walls to keep the women in, and all of the men with all of their guns standing on those walls are pointing their guns inward at the women. Yep. That's what they're saying. That's what they've redefined society as, because society is patriarchy. Society is gynocentrism. Gynocentrism is the women inside the walls. Patriarchy is the men on the outside of it, and the man in the freaking tower giving the orders and sending men to die. That's what society is, right?
Yeah, it still is.
Women have managed to convince everybody that this situation in which women are in the tower or in buildings in the inner Bailey right? They're protected. They're behind the walls, right? And they are safe from all of the cannon fire and all of the bullets and all of the freaking spears coming from the outside, right? Their men are not protecting them. Their men are enslaving them, keeping them captive, and not allowing them to be free. To just go out into the world, the perfectly safe world, right? And the only reason they can actually translate it, redefine how things work in that way, is because men did make the outside world safe. They did make it safe.
For the most part, yeah. Once it becomes less safe, I think you're going to see a resurgence of the...
Oh, yeah, no, it's going to be like zombie apocalypse. All the gender roles will be back in force. Oh, well, if you want to go forage for food, I'll stay home and, boil some water.
Oh, I'm just a delicate little woman.
Oh, yeah, no.
Oh, God, it's such a...
Let me watch.
It's so
your clothes,
freaking
your
fake.
spare set of clothes need washing. Why don't you go hunt down the zombies and I'll get this laundry done?
Yep.
That's what's going to happen.
Well, okay. So that's essentially
women
what
like
submission
you
really...
and women like me are honest enough to admit that. And that we would maybe be not on the outer ring, but on one of the inner rings. We wouldn't necessarily be hiding in our bowers, right? We would be working, we'd be helping, we'd be making food and keeping people fed, and we'd be even making armaments, maybe mending things, fixing things, all of that stuff. We'd be doing what it takes, right? But I don't think I'd be on that outer wall unless I had to be.
Making sandwiches.
I would totally make so many.
We need sandwiches on the front lines.
Oh, and they'd be so good.
I think I'd probably...
Sandwich.
Personally, I'd probably just be doing, compounding of herbs and stuff.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Because I'm not really the greatest at physical shit.
We'd be running the infirmary. We'd be doing all kinds of administrative tasks, right? To keep our soldiers fed and warm and strong and healthy and all of that. And we'd be working as a team again, right? And it's just a shame that if it ever gets to that point again, it's all over, because there won't be any more easy oil or coal. So.
Yeah, but we don't want to get to that point. We want to fix this shit. And the thing is that this is a very costly narrative to our society. But Brian has to go, so we should do the final super chows.
Let's do the final super chows and then do your thank yous. But first, let's do the super chow. So this is from Plain Dane, I think. Yeah, and he gives us $5. Thank you, Plain Dane, and says, another example that supports my claim that loyalty is a masculine trait. New tribes, new language, new culture. This is why women are better at learning new languages. Disloyalty and oikophobia is more, well, I guess he meant to say more feminine. Oikophobia, sure, because it's I could see that. I think that's, honestly, I think that we're living in a culture that has almost completely excluded the masculine perspective, and everything is feminized. It doesn't matter if there are men saying it or whatever, but I that's what I believe. I believe that the way the way that we communicate has become it's not masculine at all. So if a guy talks like guys do, they're gonna get in trouble.
I want to point something out to this. Well, be it as it may, from my study of history, the source of any kind of new social cohesion seems to come as a result of women being loyal and sacrificing. So you have the Sabine women, you have the Christian martyrs, forming this kind of cohesive force to a new concept of how men and women relate, really. So there's that. There is the general woman, but you also have to consider that it's not like men really have an option when it comes to loyalty. Because if they aren't, And you know, if their social system fails, they're dead. They're going to be killed. So they have to remain loyal to it because that's their only option, really. If women have another option, often they'll take it, but then there are these points in history where women have actually themselves sacrificed themselves to express loyalty to something greater than themselves. And then what's interesting is some kind of social movement seems to form around that. And it's something that's recognized among like Islamist terrorists too, like women who devote themselves up to the point of self-sacrifice to the cause motivate and provide a great deal more cohesion than male martyrs. It's like female martyrs are worth 10 male martyrs or something. So anyway, that's something to consider as well. Yes, it seems like the general mass of women have a different concept when it comes to loyalty, but there are some outliers who don't express that same thing. Anyway, go ahead,
Right.
Brian, for the
Okay.
next one.
That's okay. So Zeranx, who gave us $5 earlier and didn't say anything, said that he did send a message but didn't go through. So he tagged me in a post on the chat and says, it's so convenient that what she'd have to say to contribute either exists elsewhere or doesn't make it into whatever discussion it's pertinent to. Sounds like Patreon material, eye roll emoji. Thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice if she had like planned to talk about this stuff. I think what happened was that she had something in mind and didn't like, you know, realize she was going to bring this other thing up and was like, oh, I should probably go into that more later. I don't know. So, but thank you for the super chow. And then Sleep Aussie Bot, or Sleep Aussie rather, gives us $5 and says, I can't wait to read your book. Last good fantasy book I read was Shad's Shadow of the Conqueror, but that was still not flattering in its views on men. I like Shad, but he is a conservative Christian. Well, he's like part of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I think. So,
Okay, so
kind of an out there thing, but okay. Go ahead.
all right, yeah, I wanted to thank you because Sleep Aussie put through $200, so thank you, Sleep Aussie. I have another, for this particular sub goal, $550 to go. So if you want to help out, it's feedthebadger.com. You want to join our very the people who are helping me make this happen, feedthebadger.com/support. This being getting my book to a reasonable state of finishing through the process of editing, which is quite expensive, but so far has been worth it. I wanted to say that I also enjoyed Shad's Shadow of the Conqueror. I think that it could have used more editing. However, I will say that he's a good enough writer. He's one of the few YouTubers who've written something that I actually enjoyed. And he's good enough that it was readable even without, I think, a developmental editor. So it was a good yarn. Like I said, I think there were some places where it could have been improved. Maybe the discussion of the magic system was a little bit excessive. I found it a bit excessive. It held my interest to the end, which is about what I want a book to do. I agree. It didn't really have a flattering view of men. That was really unfortunate. I think that he glossed over some depth for his main male character that I saw would have been very interesting to explore. Hopefully you enjoy my book as well. It's probably going to be quite a bit different than Shadow of the Conqueror. A little bit, not quite as Christian, shall we say?
Oh, was that? Yeah, okay. Yeah, probably not.
All right,
Yeah, no.
you guys.
All right, yeah, we gotta go. All right, so
Yeah,
once again,
we
if you want to
gotta go.
send us a message, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. If you want to tell us that you enjoyed this content, you want to tell us we're not screaming into the void, that there's somebody out there who's listening to us and saying, yeah, that's actually a really good point. Maybe don't agree with everything, but I do agree with that. Please send your comments to feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And if you would like to help me do this project of bringing some more pro-human writing into the world to defeat the forces of misanthropy and nihilistic hatred of humanity, please go to feedthebadger.com/support and help me out with the novel that I'm writing and trying to get edited. So feedthebadger.com/justthetip if you want to send us a message, and feedthebadger.com/support, at least for now, if you want to support the show or my current project, which is getting my novel edited and out to print. All right, back to you, Brian.
Okay, well, I did get one more Rumble rant. So from the Nova Fan 21, shout out to the Rumble gang, gives us $1, and he says if she doesn't want men to think women submitting to men as being a slave to her husband, maybe she should direct her ire more with women who play the damsel in distress trope when things get tough. Thank you for that, Nova Fan. Appreciate it. All right, so with that said, if you guys like this video, please smash like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today, and please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thanks, guys, for coming on today's episode of the Rantzerker, and we will talk to you all in the next video.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.